Coburn, and happy Groundhog Day. I will later be joined by our geopolitical friend Arav Kapoor and our soccer fanatic Noah, and we have many things to break down in today's episode, including my interview with a reporter for CBS and NBC, Chris Lewis. But first, let's start off with our joke of the week. There were 3 deer about to jump off of a cliff. It's safe to say there was a lot at stake. We hope you all enjoyed that very corny joke. But before we jump into any current events, let's jump into a holiday broken down by Arav, Rosa Parks National Day.
What's up, dudes? On February 4th, 1913, black woman Rosa Louise McCauley was born in the largely segregated state of Alabama and in the even more segregated city of Tuskegee. More commonly known as Rosa Parks, she lived in what is referred to as the Jim Crow era, in which laws written by Jim Crow forced black people away from basic tasks such as riding the school bus to school with the white children. When Parks married Raymond Parks, who was heavily involved in the National Association of Advancement of Colored People, or the NAACP, she joined the group. Being the only woman in this group, she was elected secretary of the NAACP's Montgomery chapter, meaning she started to manage many injustices in the area. Despite this, she is most commonly known for refusing to give up her seat on the bus for a white man on December 1st of 1955 in Montgomery. Despite this heroic act, she was sent to jail and fined before the famous Montgomery bus boycott, where she, along with Martin Luther King Jr. and civil rights activists, protested using city buses. Parks died of natural causes in 2005 after living a full life and being the first U.S. female non-elected official to land with the Capitol Rotunda. And with that, you guys know the drill. Peace out, dudes.
Speaking of holidays, today is a very fun holiday, Groundhog Day. But the funny thing is, Groundhog Day is actually just a myth. The holiday essentially is a theory that a groundhog comes out of his hibernation on February 2nd every year. If the groundhog supposedly sees his shadow, then we will have 6 more weeks of winter. If not, then spring will arrive early. Yet there has been no official studies to prove what the groundhog sees is true. The holiday that's been celebrated in America and Canada since 1987 had a movie come out titled Groundhog Day, where the star Bill Murray lives through Groundhog Day every day. Though the choice of the holiday seems to have no relation to the concept of the movie, its popularity has grown since the 1993 film. Happy Groundhog Day. Now let's start something new. We're going to do a famous birthday today segment. Happy birthday! While a lot of people were born on February 2nd, including former model Christy Brinkley, the most popular person born on the 2nd day of February is Shakira. Shakira, now 47, is one of the more well-known singers today. Shakira got her career started at 13 years old with Sony Music Columbia. The artist, who has 90 million followers on Instagram, is referred to as the Queen of Latin Music. Her biggest hit song was the song she sang for the World Cup in Africa in 2010, Waka Waka. Happy birthday, Shakira. But something interesting is February 3rd, tomorrow, is considered like the empty day, where there's really no famous birthdays. So while we have Shakira on February 2nd, we really have no one on February 3rd. Now let's head into our interview this week. I got to sit down with a sports reporter for CBS and NBC, Chris Lewis. Here were the best moments.
When did you realize you wanted to be a broadcaster? And once you did, what did you really do to pursue that passion and make it a reality?
Well, it's a typical story that you hear from a lot of announcers, right? You want to be in the sports media when you realize that you can no longer play sports at the next level or the professional level or whatever the level that you want to play at. And I remember during the summers, both of my parents worked. And so they would always send me to a basketball camp during the summer. There was this sports broadcasting camp. Mom was like, hey, how about this camp? Would you like to do this? I was like, yeah, absolutely. Sounds fun. I really loved the camp. I enjoyed it. I like the fact that we have the people who you see on the TV and the people who you hear on the radio. They're now in front of us. And they're talking and giving advice and making it seem like, hey, this is something that you could actually do. So, from that moment on, I kind of had it in my mind that that's the path that I wanted to go down.
Well, I remember when I spoke to you the first time, your first big gig was as the table tennis announcer for the Summer Olympics. Explain to me how enjoyable that experience was. Like, you announced an Olympic sport. Kind of explain to me what that was like.
No, it's kind of wild, right? Even to think about it now, a couple of years later, how cool of an opportunity it was. But it was really awesome. Big thanks to everybody at NBC for giving me the chance to be able to do that. And it was awesome. Now, it was the COVID Olympics. So there wasn't any fans in the stands, so that was interesting about it. I wasn't actually in Tokyo. I was in Stamford, Connecticut, which is where NBC does most of their production, their remote broadcast from. While it was the COVID year, so there wasn't as much socializing and interaction between all the different people. That part is really cool. That's a fun part of the experience.
These past 2 weeks in sports have really just been hijacked by this whole debate about who should have made the college football playoff. Should it have been Alabama or should it have been Florida State? But next year, we're not going to have that problem because both of them would have made it had we had the 12-team playoff, which starts next season. It's been something fans have been waiting for a while. How do you see the 12-team playoff? And also next year with a ton of new teams going to new conferences, how do you see all that making college football next year?
Yeah, that's a lot. I mean, first of all, let me go on the record and say I would have liked to see Florida State in the playoff. As for the climate of college football, your guess is as good as mine. It's going to be strange, right? Yeah. Washington versus Rutgers in a Big Ten game, right? Conference opponents across the country. That's going to be strange. I don't think that teams will have hope as late because the conferences are so big, right? Like a team like Indiana, for example, could be out of it before they even can step onto the field. 12 teams in the playoffs, I think, is going to be interesting. I think 8 might have been the natural number to go to. I think it might be better than 4. Now, is it enough to keep the regular season as dramatic as possible while also having enough teams in the playoffs to make that a fun event? I think they maybe have found the right balance there. Again, time will tell. Right. But I also hope that we don't lose that of college sports is regional. To the Bayou Classic, that game doesn't affect who wins the championship. But given the history, tradition of those programs, what it means for them to win the Bayou Classic, that's what matters. So to frame everything into the playoff context, I don't think is what this sport was designed to be.
If you had to give one piece of advice on being a sports broadcaster or announcer like yourself, what would it be and why?
A couple things. Number one is to always keep it fun whenever you can, right? This is fun. It's sports. And number two, everybody has their own path. But there's always questions and dilemmas that come up. Just realize that there are so many different ways to make it to whatever spot that a person's at.
Now let's dive into our soccer news. French superstar Kylian Mbappe has received an offer from Real Madrid to join them as a free agent next summer and another offer to renew his contract with his current club, Paris Saint-Germain. Kylian, whose contract ends with PSG at the end of the season, has been allowed to communicate with other clubs since January 1st. Madrid has tried and failed to sign Mbappe in past seasons, and sources have said that the offer is going to be lower than the past couple of offers.
For some tech news, the Apple Vision Pro will become available on February 2nd. The front is a singular piece of three-dimensional form laminated glass flowing into an aluminum alloy frame that curves to wrap around your face. It automatically gently tightens the band to the size of your head. When someone approaches the Apple Visions, it makes a transparent circle for what you want to see on the outside world. Now let's head into rapid-fire segments. 60 seconds and tick. The Kansas City Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl for the second straight season. As if Kansas City wasn't big enough, the relationship between tight end Travis Kelce and Grammy winner Taylor Swift has made Kansas City the most popular team in the league. However, it is still a wonder whether she will be at the game on February 11th. Swift has a show the night before in Japan as a part of her International Eras Tour. Japan is 14 hours ahead of the U.S., though, so theoretically she could finish her concert and take a plane to show up to Vegas, Nevada, right before the game, but it is still unknown if that will happen with delays and such. We'll see if the NFL script to have T Swift a part of the Super Bowl pays off after all. Russian authorities are reportedly investigating the YouTube series Skibbity Toilet for detrimenting children. The viral YouTube channel that shall not be said on a school show has blown up over the past few years and has 38 million subscribers and become one of the more recognizable memes today. Some websites believe there is such a thing as Skibbity Toilet Syndrome, which is considered violent and harmful images that children shall not see. Now let's head into our trivia. Shout out to our January winners, first being Benjamin Medina, second being Thomas Kelty, and third being Ben Chacon. Remember, you need to respond to at least 70% of each month's trivia to qualify. What companies does Chris Lewis work with? When did Apple Vision Pro come out? When is Rosa Parks National Day this year? When did America and Canada start celebrating Groundhog Day? How many hours ahead of the United States is Japan? All right, you guys want to answer those questions? Scan the QR code here at the top of the screen if you want to participate in the trivia. And be sure to check out our basketball live streams here on the Fairfield Woods Middle School YouTube channel. The playoffs start next week, and you will not want to miss out on any of our content with the regular season and soon-to-be playoffs wrapping up. We hope you guys enjoyed the 31st edition of WWMS. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure to participate in our trivia and qualify for our February trivia competition. Prizes still to be determined. Thanks so much to a great behind-the-scenes crew, alongside Arav and Noah. Signing off from Fairfield Woods Middle School, I am Chase Coburn, and we'll see you A holiday that's been celebrated in America and Canada since 1897. Parshwa! I can't see. That's what I was looking for.
3.
Wait, no, I don't need it. Go up, 2. Go up. You gotta go up and then down quickly.
Killian, whose contract ends with PSG at the end of the season, has been allowed to communicate. Hold on. Don't stop it.
No, I'm just raising it.
Blooper.
Really?
The holiday that's been celebrated in America and Canada. Oh my gosh, Parshwa!
I can't scroll that fast.
Okay, let's switch. See you next Friday.